All right, everybody, welcome back to a new episode of the Steelers Breakdown Podcast. Nick Farabaugh here with you guys. The Pittsburgh Steelers officially have a deal with TJ Watt. He has become the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history, $41 million per year, exceeding that of Cleveland Browns edge rusher Myles Garrett. It's a three-year extension worth $123 million combined with his one-year deal that he had coming into this. It's a four-year contract that will keep him in Pittsburgh through the 2028 season, 108 million of that guaranteed for the star edge rusher. And so let's talk about this. We knew it was probably going to come at some point. I had been telling y'all on the podcast, I did not think TJ Watt would get traded. I never gave much credence to those rumors. And while it was rocky talking about specifics and kind of how these would come about, it seemed fairly clear that eventually they would come to an agreement, and they did. And so they are taking risks here with this deal. I mean, there's no question to me, this isn't an easy deal to kind of point at and say there's no risk here. I mean, there's a lot of risk here for Pittsburgh. It's not like the last extension that he signed. It is very different, in fact, quite different. When you look at this extension and how they go into this. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's going to be 31 years old in October. By the end of this contract, it'll come just before his age 35 season. So he will be 34 by the end of the deal, and you have guaranteed money it's going to be flowing into year three. So you really guaranteed him through year three of this deal, including this year. So through his age 33 season, you guaranteed him a lot of money. And so TJ Watt is going to be sitting pretty because this contract to me virtually makes it a very likely option that he retires a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think that is quite clear. I think it is almost borderline obvious now. He's going to retire a Pittsburgh Steeler. And that is something he wanted. That is something the Steelers wanted. And this deal came together very quickly. From what I had been told, the lines of communication had been open. That had always been a positive in this situation. They never shut them off. And so when they kind of came to talk together, if one side kind of compromised on one, the other side was feeling more the ability to compromise on the other. Watt compromised on contract length. The Steelers compromised on guaranteed money. And they gave him the guaranteed money. Watt said, okay, I'll go down to 3 years instead of matching Myles Garrett's four on his extension. And so he is now under contract through 2028. And that's something that I think the Steelers also wanted to do. We talked about this on Tuesday. There is a sort of PR play to this as well. TJ Watt is one of the greatest pass rushers to ever put on a Steelers uniform. Steelers do not want to have what happened with Troy Polamalu again, where Polamalu retired and then didn't show up around the Steelers facility meetings, gatherings, alumni gatherings, uh, really for a very long time. He only until recently took him almost a decade. They don't want to go through that again. And that's something I think the Rooney's really care about. But TJ Watt, this deal carries a lot of risk for the Steelers. For Watt, great deal for Watt. I mean, he gets incredible security into the middle of his 30s. For edge rushers that are that old, that are primarily speed rushers like TJ, that is a risky deal for the team. But TJ is sitting pretty. And that is something that I think he and his agent should be patting themselves on the back for. The Steelers I think are betting that TJ Watt is going to be really good into their contention window. And their contention window is not just this year, but I'm talking about when they select a quarterback and they hopefully are going to be competing in 27 and 28. They are betting on TJ Watt still being a very big part of those teams. And we'll see if he can do that. Speed rushers naturally lose explosiveness, naturally lose some of their acceleration up the arc as they get older. It naturally happens. But he looks absolutely huge in a new photo. The photo with Nick Herbig, they were working out in Wisconsin together. This guy looks absolutely massive. TJ Watt looks bulkier. He looks like more of a power rusher. And I think of power rushers like Terrell Suggs that aged so beautifully. I mean, Suggs was good until he was like 35, 36, and then played until he was like 39. James Harrison was still a productive pass rusher. He was primarily, he had great bend, but he had obviously power throughout his game. I just think great power rushers really age gracefully. And the most recent example that's similar to Watt is Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was a little bit of both. He wasn't pure speed. He wasn't pure power. But the speed part of his game is obviously taking a hit as he's gotten older. He was traded from the Bears after an injury-riddled 2020 season. And when he was traded to the Chargers, he was entering his age 31 season. Since then, he's had 8 sacks, 17 sacks, and 6 sacks, while also being a top-notch elite run defender. I think the Steelers are probably going to get something around that. I think they're probably going to end up getting, somewhere around 10 sacks per year, maybe a little more. I think TJ, in terms of sack productivity, has always been great. He's always been an elite finisher while getting elite run defense. And that's something that they really value. They're going to get great locker room leadership, great locker room presence from TJ Watt, and they are going to have him underneath the Steelers banner for the rest of his career, I believe. I don't foresee TJ Watt going to another team. I think he's going to be a one helmet guy, just like Cam Hayward was a one helmet guy. I think that's going to be a big thing for the Steelers. Is if they respect you like that, if they think you're a legend, they're gonna keep you in the black and gold. And I do think that was part of this. But there is risk here for the Steelers. This is not a cut and dry deal. It is far more risky. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's coming off an injury battered season. You can use that in both ways. You can use that to support your argument that he's still very good, which I agree with. I think he was really good last year, before he had a hip flexor thumb and ankle injuries. So 3 injuries for TJ Watt last year down the stretch absolutely contributed to the fact that he fell off down the stretch. I mean, he was the defensive player of the year favorite, and the reason he didn't get so many stats at the end of last year was he lost that explosiveness. They didn't move him around the formation. I mean, there was a lot going on there, but the injuries absolutely hurt his explosiveness. And a thumb injury, you don't have the ability to pop through with the power side of things. I think the power side of things has to come along. I think that's certainly important. But on the other side, with the injuries, you can also say, well, he has been banged up. Hasn't missed a ton of games, but has played hurt a good bit. Outside of the pec injury, he hasn't missed a ton of time with injuries, but he has been banged up. And he was banged up down the stretch last year. So maybe change the training a little bit, right? I mean, certainly, I would like to talk with TJ when he gets to Latrobe, not really just about the contract, but more so about this training regimen. I mean, he looks much bulkier. Is power a bigger focus in his game? Is that something he's looking at as he ages throughout his career? Are we seeing a transformation in the type of player you're going to be seeing out there on Sunday? My guess is you will. I think he's going to move around more. That was something he said in January he wanted to do. Alex Highsmith then reiterated in May they're working on that. I think TJ Watt's going to be playing at on the left side a little bit. He'll probably be over the A and B gaps a little more. He'll still stick at wide nine on the right tackle the majority of the time, but I think they're going to move him around a little bit. I think they're going to overload blitz to his side sometimes to try and get him one-on-ones. They're going to do different stunts. They're going to do different looks to try and help TJ Watt get back to being a really productive pass rusher. And I do think that is something you think about when you look at TJ Watt is how good is he going to be when he is 33? I think that's a big question. Is this someone that fits the window of contention? That's going to be up to TJ Watt. It's going to be up to how things evolve with him. I think that's the big question. He's got to evolve. So the Steelers are trying to gear up for a run right now, also trying to kind of thread this needle of trying to win now. Um, so Pittsburgh is doing an interesting thing, but Watt was an integral part of all of that. It didn't work without TJ Watt. And so the trade ideas never made sense. And this extension, while risky, had to happen given the context of their offseason. Now, there are a few things I want to take away from this. One, it seems very likely Nick Herbig is probably going to leave after his rookie contract. Was a great fourth round pick, is a dynamite speed rusher, theoretically they could move on from Alex Highsmith. I mean, I guess I can't rule that out, but certainly I think the scales tipped far in favor of Herbig heading elsewhere after his rookie deal expires following next season. So, after 2026 is when he would leave. I think that's become far likelier. Maybe the Steelers find a way to thread that needle, but he's a starting caliber edge rusher that should be starting on a team. So that's going to happen eventually. Um, I do think, we talked about moving him around. It needs to happen. Um, Not just from a willingness standpoint from TJ, because I think that is there now that he has said that in kind of stone that he wants to move around. He wants to be a guy that is not static and, you can just tee off on because he's at a wide nine over the right tackle every play. I think that is certainly important. And I do think when you talk about him moving around, he may not be as effective on the other side and over the middle, but I hope he's been working on that and he can become more effective. And certainly, I think with more power in his game, because he has speed to power and he has these inside counters and things like that are in his game. He just doesn't use very often. I think those will become more prevalent over the next few seasons. That is going to be a big part of just winning on different sides, different alignments, all of those things. So that's important when you look at TJ Watt in this extension. I think another portion that I would like to urge, and I do think this is one of the takeaways you can take from this situation, is get your contracts done earlier. The Steelers could have had a hometown discount with TJ Watt. They ended up paying $41 million, $108 million guaranteed. Pay them early. I say this every time. You are eligible to pay guys. After their rookie deals, you're eligible to pay them after their third season. Most guys in that first round tier wait until year four and before they're going into their fifth year option. But Aiden Hutchinson, for example, is going to sign with the Detroit Lions after his third season. That is something that is smart business. You are going to get a discount that way. Is Aiden Hutchinson going to reset the market if it's done before Micah Parsons? Yes. Is it also going to probably look like a bargain in 2 years? Also, yes. Lamar Jackson's deal aged beautifully. The Ravens continue to re-up star players 2 years sometimes before their deals are up. Proactive organizations do this because while you're able to get your player money, you're able to give them security with more guarantees, and you're also able to get lower contract costs. Helps against the cap. It's smart business if players are willing to do it. Stop waiting long to sign your players, and if you're going to do it after the season and they're heading into the final year of their contract, do it earlier. Start negotiations in February. I think the Steelers wait too long sometimes, starting their contract negotiations until after the draft and kind of letting their players know in March, hey, we're going to approach you soon. Well, start having them. Start negotiating contracts early. Max Crosby's deal looks incredible right now for the Raiders. And if Crosby didn't have a deal right now, he would be one up there setting the edge market, right? I mean, he would be up there with these guys. You could have had TJ Watt for $35 million per year before Max Crosby got his deal, and certainly you could have had him for less before Myles Garrett broke the chain with $40 million per year. So this is how you get hometown discounts. People put it on the players to have this onus. Really, it's more on the org to have a future sight and the kind of proactiveness to go out and try and get these deals done early. This is how you do it. This is how you get a hometown discount. Every now and then you run into a player that is willing to give you a hometown discount no matter what. But if you really want a hometown discount, regardless of player disposition, the way you do it is you get in there early, and 2 years down the line, the deal looks like a steal. And that is exactly how smart teams do contract business with superstars. I would like to see the Steelers do that. I'd like to see them sign guys before free agency or during free agency that are already on the roster. I get the cap space kind of context is a little murkier when you don't have your full roster assembled. But you can lower cap hits there. and you can structure things out different years and get discounts with your homegrown players by doing that. It's just smart football. The kind of way I look at this is look at the Cincinnati Bengals, for example, and how long they dragged their feet with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They ended up paying those guys insane money. I mean, with Higgins, they actually probably ended up getting a little bit of a discount because he really wanted to stay in Cincinnati with Burrow and Chase. But they could have paid both those guys far less than what they got if they had signed them the year before. And with all the deals pouring in, it would have looked extremely, extremely good now. It would have been a bargain for them to have two superstar receivers, and they could have had the flexibility to go out and sign more defensive playmakers or go get some help on the offensive line in free agency. They needed a guard really bad. Like all of that is smart general managership. When you look at what the Cowboys are doing right now, even the Bengals right now with Trey Hendrickson, I mean, that cost is going way up. They could have had him for far cheaper had they just signed him right after the season instead of bickering with him. The Cowboys are going to end up paying Micah Parsons an insane amount of money because they keep waiting. Parsons said he wanted the deal done last year. You could have had him extended last year. And with the Steelers case, J.J. Watt literally went on the Pat McAfee show earlier this offseason saying the Steelers wanted a hometown discount with TJ. They could have had it last year. This is the type of general managing that is good process. It's proactive. It rewards your players and it rewards the team and gives you flexibility. This is exactly the type of thing that good general managers should do. So I hope Omar Khan, with as much as he has changed with the free agent pursuits, the aggressiveness through trades, and other processes that this front office has gone through since the Kevin Colbert era, that's one thing I really hope he starts to do more of. The Steelers have most of their contract business done here um, before training camp. They can obviously, I think, approach, Calvin Austin or Jalen Warren if they wanted to sign one of those guys. So that also opens up that deal. The fact they got Deshaun Elliott done, they got TJ Watt done now, they have their guys signed. They could go up to one of those guys now and potentially get that done. So I do like the fact that they're trying to get more contracts done before camp, more contracts done before the season. They've tried to do that to give themselves more flexibility, especially when there's multiple deals that they want to get done in a given offseason. But you could do it even earlier. You can even adjust that timeline just a little more and get that's how you get hometown discounts. So I hope those examples are kind of showing you because let's Michael Parsons had signed last year. He would probably be getting paid less than Max Crosby, be getting paid less than Myles Garrett, getting paid less than TJ Watt. Like the Cowboys would have a steal of a deal in that. And so I always think about that when you're talking about good general managing, and that's one thing I hope the Steelers learned from this deal could have been a lot cheaper if they had done it earlier. And that's something that I do think matters when you're a general manager. Is how early can you get these done and how much of a willingness is there? And if JJ Watt's comments are to be believed, there was a willingness last year for TJ to sign the dotted line and potentially give them a hometown discount, but now they are getting the full brunt of the market, resetting it, and all of that. So just something to think about when you're talking about it. It shows loyalty as an organization. It rewards your players for playing well. And more importantly, it allows you to have cap flexibility and continue to make moves building a really good roster. So all of that kind of encapsulates my thoughts on this deal with Watt. It's risky. They kind of had to do it. I think he's still really good. I don't know how he's going to play when he's 33. I think that's a big question. I'm actually really intrigued to see how they use him this year, how his new what seems to be a new look physique translates to the football field. I'm really excited about that part of this. Um, but overall, fine deal, I think, for the Steelers. It just could have been a lot better if they had been a little more proactive. All right, folks, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell for more, and thanks for watching.